So nice little weekend move there from BTC, and these alts finally playing a little bit of catch up for us and giving us something to work with. But now we've seen that BTC has lost a critical level here. And if history is going to repeat itself, we could be in for 8 or 9 weeks of absolute pain and chop. So we got a lot to talk about here today. There are obviously some bullish things floating around, and I've got a ton of altcoins for you guys, including some trade updates from last week. And I've got a couple of setups brewing for you guys. I've also got DJ and David in the back from Sniper Club as well. He might have a setup for you guys. So we got tons to talk about here. It is Sunday. Let's get right into this. And remember, I'm normally on Banter Plus. This is the main channel today. Uncle's not here. He's given me the slot on the main channel. If you like this content, obviously hit the like button, hit the subscribe here. And you can find me Monday to Friday on Banter Plus. I'm there every day dropping you this type of stuff. Here is Banter Bubbles. Now look at this number one performer here, Notcoin. And 30% up now after that bounce we got on Friday. And a little bit of a bleed out now in the last 24 hours. So your typical other tokens are all feeling a little bit of pain. This man over here actually got that knot trade. He can maybe tell us about that just now. And I do have the knot chart open for maybe a follow-up little setup there. Maybe there's another knot long situation brewing there. So we'll speak to DJ and Dave about that. Let's take a look at the current BTC situation. So I've really honed in here. I've got the 15-minute charts out here. I've gone full DJ for you guys just to get a proper picture as to what is happening here, because we had that absolute dump and then we didn't have too much information to work with. So I've really zoomed in on the current thing. So right now, what am I watching in the next 12 to 24 hours? What do I have my eyes on? Well, number one has got to be the 𝗂𝗓𝗔𝗡 fib support that I'm watching currently, 56,500. So you can see we've already had a nice little reaction off this region, and that is telling us here, it's telling the bulls something. You know, we might have a little bit of action here at this 56,500. So keeping my eyes on this one closely. Then a little bit lower down, I've got 55,780. That ties into this little wick from late on Friday for me, and it was towards the close of the US market there. So 55,782 looking interesting, and then 55,295. Now this is the big dog for the bulls. This is the 618. This is the banger that we often rely on for BTC and some of these altcoins to really send us to nice little places. So these are the 3 key levels that I'm watching now leading into tomorrow here for us. Naturally, it's the weekend, so anything can really happen at the moment. So we're waiting closely for this Asia session to open later. And these will be the key levels that I would be watching once that session opens for some kind of bounce here on BTC. And then when do we turn bullish? Well, number one, the minute we start breaking this little trend here, we can get a little bit more excited on a couple of things. I see Bruce is in the back there as well. Bruce, come jump in here. If you are in the chats, come jump in here at the back end here. David is sitting here waiting for you guys. And right, upside, what am I watching? Well, number one, we've got a big problem up here for BTC, massive problem. And I'm going to talk about this in detail just now for you guys. But 58,600, that is a major resistance zone. And you can see I've highlighted this for you twice. We've pinged this one twice. This is the 200-day moving average. Now, we haven't lost this 200-day moving average in a very long time. And you can see immediately this thing is proving to be massive resistance for us. So upside, all you need to worry about now on the 15-minute candles, 58,600. This is a huge level that we're going to be dealing with. And when we start cracking that, that's another game plan. Then we can really turn super bullish. But for now, upside 58,636. That is what I'm watching. And then here's my current situation on Prime XBT. So I'm still long AVAX, as you can see at the bottom there. Then I am long BTC off that 382. I've jumped into a little BTC scalp there. We will be adding if we start breaking a trend, and my stop is directly under that 382. I've got a hard stop there. I'm not going to stick around on any weakness. I'm going to be bailing on that one. And then I have a head short in play here at the moment. This is Solana, and the short in play here, if we start breaking that trend, it could potentially turn bullish. So I'm going to look to cut the sol short at about 141, give or take, in that region. So that is my current game plan here. And then I also shorted Pepe and I shorted Cass yesterday, and I'm going to show you exactly how I did that. I'm going to show you the strategy behind that whole situation as well. So stick around. I've got a lot of these charts here ready for you guys. We've got a lot to cover. And I see Bruce has also arrived. The whole crew is in the house here. What a lovely surprise. Okay, what is going on in the news? Just a reminder as to what happened last week. I know we spoke about this one on Friday, those of you that watched my show, but just Milky Bull, just reminding us that BTC experienced a huge long liquidation, and it was similar to the FTX dump that we had in November 22. I mean, that was a massive move, and that marked the bottom at the time of a big BTC move. So just a reminder again for the bulls out there, that was a massive liquidation there, and that indicator alone could tell us that that was potentially the bottom of the move. And then Art is, he's just looking through a couple of things here. He's looking through trading leaderboards on the last 30 days, and he's saying the performance is absolute carnage. So he said, yeah, if you gave back some gains, don't beat yourself up about it. Lots of the consistent big winners gave back some too, and it was absolute carnage out there. And I was saying on Friday, if you didn't get liquidated or stopped out a ton on Thursday or Friday, then are you even trading? Did you even do it right? And that's part of the game that we are all dealing with. And Milky Bull then giving us another pointer here. He's saying 2020 FUD versus the current FUD, and he's highlighted COVID in his last chart here as marking the lows, and then he's highlighted again today at our current situation. He's talking about these Germans, the Germans that keep selling their BTC. He's talking about the Mt. Gox FUD. And look at the equivalent. Look what it has done here to BTC. So another indicator that could have potentially been a bottom marker for BTC. So we're going to get more into this 200-day MA shortly. And then just a little note here from Wise Advice. Now, there was a little bit of a cleanup here on the Germans. And there's been all these stories that they're selling. Then so all of a sudden this weekend, they were saying, no, the Germans have started buying back. Well, actually, what has happened here is they've moved their BTC off the exchanges. And now it appears that they're going to be selling it via OTC. So Olaf and his buddies there won't be market selling BTC on us in clips of 300 or 400 units at a time there. And they might just put a little bit less pressure or a little bit less selling pressure out there if they're going to do an OTC deal with one of the big wigs. Now, remember last week we saw Justin Sun basically appealing to the German government, telling him that he's prepared to do an OTC deal with them if they were prepared to do it. So maybe sanity has prevailed here. We also saw some pressure on the German minister as well, and telling them just slow down on those market sells there on whatever app they were trading on. And then 𝗲𝗚𝗏𝗏 gave us interesting comment here, the correlation between BTC and equities. Now, there was a time we used to watch these things together. They used to sing from the same hymn sheet, and it was really easy to trade the two sort of in unison. And I was saying not so long ago, last week, that if we were sitting in 2021 here and the S&P pumping all-time highs, we would have seen Bitcoin and these altcoins absolutely melting faces. And we are not seeing that at the moment. And he's just reminding us it's the lowest it's been in 4.5 years. And he's suggesting it's the current FUD. But, we have seen it for a little bit while longer. There has been a little bit more pain. But S&P traders, congrats. For those of you who are still trading the regulation stocks, look how you guys are cooking here. And my target, this is the S&P on the weekly, and my target here is the 2.618 fib. So 5,764 looks pretty reasonable here for me. Obviously, a little bit of up, down along the way, but this thing is just churning up. And I wouldn't be surprised if we ping that in the next couple of months. So 5,760, somewhere in that region, it looks like the S&P is very hungry and raring to go. And then a couple of notes here for the week from the 𝗂𝗶𝗂 letter. What are they telling us? Well, the big ones for me is number 3, the CPI inflation data. That's on Thursday. And then the June PPI, that's on Friday. Both of these are typically market movers, and we know BTC likes to listen to this type of news. So it is quite decorrelated from the S&P, but we do know we get reactions on points 3 and point 4 here. So looking out for that one. And then liquidation map. So this is interesting. So I like to look at this on the 1 day just to get a current view as to where we are. And then I like to look at this thing on the 30-day. And on the 1 day, you can see the shorts are currently outweighing the longs. And that would have to do with the liquidations we've had now in the last 12 hours on some of that little pullback we've had. But if we look at the 30-day, we can see there's big dogs up here for these shorts. Look at this. We got $6 to $7 billion worth of shorts here teed up, looking to get liquidated here if BTC pushes to $64,000. Now, obviously, if we start pushing higher than that, that number is going to be massive. But you can see on the current situation here on the 30-day liquidation map, the shorts are far outweighing the longs, and there seems to be some kind of imbalance there. So it would make sense to me to have some kind of push a little bit higher up. Okay, and then I've got an interesting tweet here from Seth. So now remember, we've got bullish things today and we've got some bearish things today. And Seth was basically saying we could really do with a Wyckoff schematic here. Now I know Bruce loves this Wyckoff situation as well. You must be drooling when you look at this stuff. And he's basically giving us a last sort of gasp here for the bulls, saying this could be the spring move of this Wyckoff schematic. If this plays out, then our target is naturally 71k, and we're going to look to start grinding higher. Now there is something that could indicate to us that this is going to play out. So the first one I want to just show you is this bullish divergence we've got here on the daily. Now you're going to see this is now cropping up on Twitter all over the place, and we don't really see this happen too often. But basically what's going on here is the price has gone lower and the oscillator is turning higher, and that's telling us the bulls are potentially going to step in here and start pressing the price higher. Now we have seen that a couple of times in the past, and if we go back, when was this? If we go back to, we can go back to October 23, we saw some hidden bullish divergence. So that was the last time we saw that playing out. And as you can see here on the chart, it played out relatively well. I mean, we had a nice little pump there. And then in August 22, we also had a similar situation. We had the price pushing lower, we had the oscillator pushing higher, and that was the start of a little move there that eventually triggered this big run that we have now seen. So that is the last two times that I can find on my chart when we had that. So this is now potentially going to be playing out for us. And if this is the case, okay, so here's your full bull scenario. Okay, so I didn't want to scare you guys with absolute bearness, because we're going to deal with this bearish thing about 9 weeks shortly, but this could potentially be playing out. And if that ties in with this little Wyckoff schematic here that Seth is talking about, well, we're just going to start churning a little bit higher here. We're eventually going to break this trend, and then we're going to be on our way to that 70k level. So if you're watching BTC here on the daily, your big levels that you want to watch now, if you are bullish on BTC, for me, 56,500, 55,380, and then a visit to these candle lows. We can't discount that visit to these candle lows, 53,500. So this could even play out for us, a little double bottom situation here for the bulls. That is still on the table. So naturally, there will be some pain on these altcoins. We're going to have to keep our eyes on dominance and make sure that these alts are surviving. But my suspicion here is if BTC dips back to these lows to revisit these wicks, we could potentially see these alts holding their current weekly levels that they've bounced off. Now remember, we hit some huge areas on these altcoins. We don't really want to send them much deeper and darker. So if we do ping this area, just look out on these altcoins. We're probably going to visit those lows again on those guys, but I'm going to be looking for the alts to hold. Now if we don't hold and they want to send us to zero, basically the first stop for me is going to be this 51,392. So remember, that's our next big reaction zone. But in summary here, what am I giving you? For the bulls, we've got this bullish divergence here on the daily. It's not a small thing. Okay, this stuff typically does play out. I've given you a couple of examples where we could see this playing out. So watch out there, and let's see if that is going to work out. Now, what am I talking about on my tile? I'm talking about 9 weeks of pain. Now, it's something as simple as this. It's the 200-day moving average. And the last time we saw BTC on the weekly close under this 200-day moving average, we had 63 days of chop in the market. The altcoins got hammered. BTC got hammered. It was up, down, up, down, up, down. We had 63 days in this region over here of absolute pain. And that could take us into September sometime. And that would be interesting. I'm going to show you another tweet that this could tie into potentially. And then the time before that we closed under this 200-day moving average, we had 392 days of pain and suffering. Now, Bruce and Dave were around when we were trading in these dark periods, and it wasn't that fun, I'm not gonna lie. And hopefully we're not gonna experience that. So for me, worst case, I'm looking for a 9 week shift under this 200-day MA, potential chop coming here for us. And it would make sense to me tying into obviously the US elections later on in the year. And then an interesting tweet here from Citigroup, and they basically released their prediction that emergency rate cuts can begin in September. Now, wouldn't that be interesting if we were looking at this chart here and we were chopping around for 8 or 9 weeks leading into September, and then all of a sudden the emergency rate cuts came? and things started firing up. So I'm just bringing this to your attention. This 200-day moving average is a massive deal for BTC. It's a massive deal for these altcoins. So ideally for the bulls, we really want to close above this 200-day MA and remain a little bit bullish. And, you know, my preferred scenario, and I'm sure everybody's, would be this 𝗘𝗊𝗑𝗏 situation playing off here. So potentially the bottom in play. You know, you decide for yourself what your views are. I did put a poll up here in the chats. Let's see how you guys are feeling here. And 41% are saying we've bottomed out, okay? And 59% are bearish. So generally we see if one group is outweighing the other, you generally trade the other one. And it looks like 60 odd percent, guys, throw in your votes here. 60 odd percent are saying we're going lower. So right now the trade might actually be a potential long if we're going to deal with we're going to deal with all these bears. Now, what do you guys think about that? Do you agree?
That's exactly what I'm looking at, by the way, for a trade.
I agree.
Agrees. The Sniper Club team. Guys, bring some setups. We're gonna farm some likes for these setups, guys. If you want some setup, we got Bruce and Dave from here from the Sniper Club. We're jumping into a private Zoom session just now with the Sniper Club members, so I'm sure Dave is prepping some charts here. He's had some bangers, including Notcoin, and he's going to give us something there. So make sure the likes are coming in hot, and while we keep cracking on. So here's dominance. Again, this is dominance on the 8 hour. I'm using this all the time now when I'm tracking my altcoins, when I'm trying to track certain levels on these alts, trying to see if they're going to remain bullish. And just a little tip here on dominance, you generally want to look for reaction zones on dominance where you're going to get your rejections. Okay, and whenever we get a rejection on dominance, we know they're being very kind to the altcoins. Okay, so right now you can see we're in a potential dominance rejection zone. So something like that tells us, you know, potentially these altcoins are going to get a little bit more energy. And a reminder, when dominance starts kicking higher, we know there's pain in the alts. Generally, they're favoring BTC, and then you start targeting your next rejection zone on these on dominance, and you try and tie that in with your alts on their corresponding support level. So right now we've seen a couple of alts sitting on 618s. We've seen a couple of alts sitting on 382s. A 618 like Brett, for example, has just bounced off that region, and that is now tying in to this little dominance rejection here. So maybe if we get a little push down now on dominance, we should see these alts bouncing a little bit off their current areas, and maybe the scalpers are going to be having some fun. And now let's talk ETH. I've got a couple of alts here ready for you guys, and let's just talk about this ETH situation. Now we've basically retraced this entire ETF pump on Ethereum. In fact, we actually had lower levels, and Small Researcher says he's buying ETH again. Okay, summer was always a chop, and we've definitely chopped lower now. Okay, so he's now saying ETH is at pre-ETF price levels. Okay, sentiment is absolutely wrecked. The Germans and Mt. Gox overhang is in play, and usually Twitter counter trades the investors have flipped giga bearish. Okay, the Twitter is calling 40K. I saw 𝗘𝗫𝗟𝗏 calling something like 38K. Okay, now, I mean, the world is turning so bearish on BTC, and we've seen many occasions here when we start getting a little bit too bearish, this thing just pumps without us. So just, you know, he's saying stick to the plan here, understand the sentiment out there, and often it makes sense to be trading against the sentiment. And Leon's just highlighting again that there's a big difference between ETH and BTC on exchanges. Okay, ETH exchange balance 10%, BTC exchange balance is widening here. This is now at 15%. Okay, so he's saying ETH is getting scarcer and scarcer on the exchanges, and he's expecting some kind of bullish move here on ETH. But let's just paint the real picture here on ETH, and let's just get an understanding of what exactly is going on. So this is ETH on the weekly that I've prepped for you guys, and you can see identically to BTC, ETH has lost the 200-day moving average. And that is not a pretty scenario. And if we tie that into BTC, the last time we lost that 200-day, you can see how the ETH chopped around for 9 weeks. They scared off all the traders. They scared everyone away. And it was just chopping for 9 straight weeks. So not a good look at the moment with ETH under the 200-day moving average. Ideally, we want to reclaim this thing as quickly as possible. But what I can give you guys here as support, 2,800. Okay, major weekly support here for ETH, and we've got a massive 382 pull. Now, if we start losing this region and dominance starts pumping and things start falling over, we're going to be picking up ETH, I would say, sometime around September at about 2,100, potentially, give or take. Now, I don't want anybody to have a heart attack here. I mean, are you shocked? Are you shocked, Bruce? Are you shocked? Don't be shocked. Never be shocked. Well, if ETH is going to do that, now remember, we wanted to sell the hamster for ETH at 3,250, and the bulls never came. Now I don't have a hamster in my house. My kids are very upset with me, and now our next sell the hamster level for ETH has now had to move down, and we might have to get rid of the dog as well at about 2,100. So looking for a bounce there for ETH, 2,100 if things turn super bearish. Other than that, for now, 2,800 is what I'm watching. Big support that we can play for now. Traders, scalpers, that is what you're watching for now until proven otherwise. And then a reminder for the Link bulls. Now, I'm not a massive Link fan, but this thing comes up all the time. And you can see these Link whales, they are accumulating more and more Link. And we discussed this last week. But again, there's another $86 million here of Link getting taken off exchanges, even though Link on the weekly is still looking pretty bearish here with this head and shoulders. So if you are a Link bull or a Link trader, I just want to give you these areas again of interest. You can see Link is now trying to reclaim this massive neckline here on this head and shoulders. So I would say we can stay relatively bullish on Link here above around about 12.5. If we can just hold this region, things could be interesting. But look at this cluster here. We've lost the 200-day, we've lost the 50-day, we've lost the 100-day MA as well. So Link has got tons of work to do here, but we can stay bullish here above 12.5. And if they do want to come down, just mark this 618 on your charts. You can see this has been a big area for us before, 11.7. Okay, so this would be my last sort of bullish area for a Link bounce. Now, that would probably involve BTC dropping back to revisit those lows potentially. So looking at Link, 11.7. If we can hold that, we should be okay. And relatively bullish now in the short term, if we can hold 12.5, then we can start claiming or climbing back up to this 50-day MA, to the 200-day MA. We can start that little journey a little bit higher up. Then anything happens. Obviously, naturally, anything happens after that when the bulls start stepping in. But for now, you want to just hold these levels here and keep a close eye. But look, it's nice that this candle has been bought up so quickly. So we can see the bulls are definitely alive there. And now tell me, who is sitting here in the chats? I see Ivan loves his Link. And what else we got? Only Pulp now for what's this? Michelle doesn't want to sell the dog. Come on, guys. You know, if ETH at 2-1, maybe we're going to do the dog. And let's see, Mr. 100 says he's going to buy all your coins if you start selling them. And Pickle says long it if 𝗂𝗏𝗟𝗏 says down. And well, remember, 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗟𝗏's an OG. He's an OG guy, and he used to have some banging calls. And I remember some of his stuff went really well. What else we got? Let's see. Goran's looking for bonk. I've got AI tech for you guys as well. I see there is a couple of AI questions here in the chats. I've got AI tech still holding a level for you guys. 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 wants to know, is it bear hunting season? Well, if you look at that liquidation map, it could be around the corner. We could have some bear hunting going on pretty soon. Say in the next 12 to 24 hours, we could see a little bit of action and activity there. Okay, let's get into 𝗃𝗃, and this was a trade that we took last week. Now, I wanted to show you guys a little strategy here, and it's a bit of a hedging strategy. So, like I explained last week, we were so uncertain with the market that we were taking longs, but we had to be super disciplined where we were taking profits at big areas and things like that, and we weren't hanging on too long to our trades. Now, I've taken profits on a lot of the trades that we traded last week, but then a couple I've actually tried to hedge by shorting them at certain areas here just to balance the account, and I've kept a couple of longs open. So I wanted to show you a little strategy here that I played out with 𝗃𝗃. And number one, I just want to show you the area as to why I did this. So number one, we had a nice reaction zone for 𝗃𝗃. So I highlighted this region here. It was the 100-day moving average and horizontals as a resistance band. So this would typically be after a pump. This is typically a high impact zone. This is typically your TP zone. And for the bears, this is typically your short zone. Now, if you have a bullish bias, for example, on something, so let's say we've had a dump and you are long on a certain token and you have a bullish bias, you generally going to look for this token to hold the 618 or to hold that 382 and then start making its way higher. Now, hedging is just a way that you can balance your account along the way. Obviously now, you know, I have a bias now on 𝗃𝗃 that I want to be long on 𝗃𝗃 and I'm looking for a break of trend and a big push. But in the interim, I shorted it just to keep the account balanced. So I did that here on CoinCatch. And you can see what's going on. This is my current CoinCatch situation. And you can see I'm long 𝗃𝗃 from last week. Okay, I've been adding to that position now on weakness and I'm short 𝗃𝗃. okay, from the absolute high. So you can see I shorted the top here on that 100-day moving average. So this came about sort of late yesterday. We had that opportunity at that resistance zone. So the alarm goes off, and then what do? You either take profit and close your trade, or alternatively, if you have a bullish bias, you can say, well, instead of taking profit, I'm going to short this thing, and then I'm going to close that short on a nice support level. So for example, Pepe, the short target could be that 618 move, and then when we push down at that 618, you can add to your position, to your long position, to start increasing the size of that. So this is how I'm currently running Pepe. And if we do get a trend break now, you can see I'm charting this on CoinCatch. They actually let you chart this thing here. So if we get a trend break here on Pepe on the short term, I'm looking at the 15 minutes here. I'm going to add to my long position, and then I'm going to start raising the stop. I'm going to bring the stop a little bit higher, and we're going to leave that short position running. We're going to see how that plays out. That is now just my hedge situation at the moment. So if things go against my bias, for example, then at least I have a little bit of cover. But this is the original Pepe long from last week, and we've just increased that size a little bit now, and we're playing this little head short, and then you can see I'm still long ETH as well off that little bounce. So no changes there. Nothing changed with that ETH trade. I've left that one exactly as is. Now, if you want to trade with me on CoinCatch, what you can do is you just go to the link in the description, and you can see there's a whole shopping list here for you guys. CoinCatch is a KYC friendly exchange, and they're offering a 30% cash back by using the link in the description. All you need to do there is sign up. They're giving $20 for the first 20 users who signed up. There's $50 coming for bonus. It's as simple as that. Sign up with an email. There's no KYC on this thing, and get trading with CoinCatch. There is a link there. And then I did the exact same thing with CAS. So let's just look at the current CAS chart as well. And you can see CAS had a beautiful little recovery yesterday. Oh, when was this? On Friday morning after that dump. Big little area. Now we know we're super bullish on CAS with all the news, and we're expecting everything to start working out accordingly. Now remember, we had the pump, and then chain fell over or something, and guys couldn't mint the tokens, and then there was a massive sell-off. So CAS has recovered really nicely. And what did it pump into? It pumped into a 382 and a horizontal here at 0.174. Okay, so we were long CAS into this region there, and then I closed that trade and then went for that short. I'm going to show you exactly how I did that again, but I didn't complicate matters. Now remember, charting is very simple. Okay, you don't have to be an absolute rocket scientist to pull out a couple of fibs, pull out a couple of levels, and understand where there's a good reaction zone, or understand where there's a TP zone or a bounce zone. And we keep it, sometimes keeping it really simple really does just win the game for you. And CAS pumped into a big rejection zone, and that offered us a nice little short opportunity. So if you are currently in CAS, okay, if you are long CAS, you're I'm going to be watching now is got to be 0.160. You can see we've held this area twice now. So we're looking for a little push higher now on CAS. We're looking for something along those lines. So 0.160 is going to be your support. You've also got backup here on the 50-day moving average. So no changes for CAS traders. Big support here for you if you are long. And then for me, that short was just a hedge play on 𝗍𝗓𝗍𝗓. And you can see here's the short running at the moment. And I caught that top again. That was just a little play straight into that horizontal band that we highlighted for you, and that 382 fib. So a nice little hedge as well, because I'm also running a couple of other longs on this account. You can see I'm in Rune from last week as well. I've got a hedge 𝗍𝗧𝗍𝗍𝗍 short, and I've got a Brett scalp as well that I'm going to tell you about shortly. That could be an entry for you guys in a minute. So right now, CAS is in play here for me. No changes for that one. It's a hedge play on my current account. And then here's Brett. So here's this Brett situation. So again, keeping it super simple here for Brett. So if you are trading Brett, this is the 1 hour that I was looking at, and a little scalp opportunity. Now the things with these fibs, if you pull a nice big fib pull from absolute lows to absolute highs on a decent time frame. Now I'm not talking 5 minutes or 15 minutes, but I pulled this fib from the absolute lows for Brett on the 5th of July. That was Friday the 5th, to the absolute highs, and we were looking for a little scalper zone. Okay, and again, these areas are reaction zones. These are impact zones for me where you get little moves. And again, these don't always signify the bottom of a move. But if you're a scalper, these are the type of areas that you start sniffing around for your potential longs. And the basic idea here behind this stuff is you grab these on good little zones, and you look for your bounces, And then when you start breaking trends and things like that, you can add to your positions and grow them, because these things typically bounce on decent horizontals. Look at that 50-day MA here on Brett. Look how it just bounced off that little region there, triggered a little move, then it obviously reversed. But again, you can then add to your position. And once this thing turns green, you can actually just raise your stop and limit your risk as quickly as possible. So if you are trading Brett, there's support for you here at 0.113, and your basic strategy now is going to be just to sit back and wait for this trend break. So I'm in a starter position on Brett, and if this thing turns over, we're going to get stopped out at our entry. And if it starts breaking trend, well, you're going to get an opportunity here to jump into this thing and maybe press a little bit harder. So you're looking, let this thing play out. Yeah, we could easily get that rejection, send it lower, but alternatively, if we break this area here, then you can start adding to your position. So that is what I'm watching for there on Brett. You can see here it is sitting at this region. So it was a $5,000 position. When we break that trend, we're going to add to it and see if we can grow it. Alternatively, risk is low here. If this thing reverses, we're just going to get stopped out there and cut that thing at entry. So pretty simple game plan here for the scalpers if you are looking for these type of things. Then another one I've got for you guys is Rune. So just a little update. So Rune was a massive move for us. And, last week we were saying we were unhappy with Rune. It was floating around in no man's land. So that dump actually really gave us an idea that the potential bottom was in, or the short-term bottom was in for Rune at 3.1. So this was a nice big zone here for us. And I'm now holding that Rune position. Just a reminder how simple this TA can be. I mean, all I did was pull a 786 fib from the absolute lows to the highs on the weekly. And it pinged exactly on the button on the 786 fib. And it's absolute perfection how these things can play out. Again, and not overcomplicating matters, just keeping it super simple here. And a typical reaction here for Rune traders. So for me, Rune on the weekly, big support now, 3.1. Don't really want to see that lost. If BTC pushes back to those lows, we're looking for Rune to hold that 3.1 level. Don't want to see lower. And if they are going to melt us down, this it's going to be a bad day. Okay, it's going to be an ugly day because we're going to be looking at 2. So we don't want to go there just yet. But for me, for Rune, 3.1 is what we're watching. And here was this little scalper setup that I gave you guys last week, Friday. And I gave you two plays on the potential setup. When this thing took off, we were looking at our original entry box and we were looking for this trend break. Now, it's obviously hard to identify the future exactly, but we were looking for a trend break here and then that secondary trade that was going to send us to TP1. So that one has played out now for me on Rune. And my current strategy here is to let this thing play out. I'm looking for TP2 to come into play here for me. And we can see we've got a nice little support band here on Rune at the moment that you can use as your current low. You can use this as your stop zone. So for me, Rune 3.35 is your safest stop zone that you can use at the moment. Now that this thing has started popping, 3.35. And if we start losing that zone, then it could tell us things are turning a little bit more bearish and we're potentially heading back to retest those weekly lows. So now that can't be off the table. If BTC is going to retest those weekly lows, we need to expect that some of these alts can do exactly the same. But if you are short-term trading or if you are scalping and things like that, 3.35, 3.36, that has got to be the support you want to be watching now on Rune. For the next, say, 12 hours, you want to see that level hold for you guys. If we start melting down and these Asians come out and they start selling us, well, then look out lower. Look out at about 3.1. That could definitely be coming into play for you guys. What are we looking at, Dave? Do you have a little setup there for us yet?
Always.
Oh, really? Okay, guys, David is here. Okay, I literally took him and Bruce out of their cages, like literally, and they're here with setups for you, but we don't give this stuff away for free. Likes, subscribes, and don't forget, Bruce and Dave hang out with me at Banter Plus as well some days, and they are always in the Sniper Club. If you want a piece of Sniper Club, there's a link in the description there for you guys, and you get setups and all these things from these guys, and it's way more involved than that. And well, we can talk a bit about Sniper Club just now. I wanted to update you guys. AI Tech. Now, don't forget, AI Tech's one of our partners here, and they are cooking at the moment. And if you want to find out more, all you need to do is just follow their Twitter account. You can see they've got 380,000 followers on Twitter at the moment, but they're basically telling you about their burn mechanism that is in play. Now, remember, if you're burning tokens, you are limiting supply. So at some point, the supply gets limited. What happens? The price tends to start moving higher. So they've got an active burn mechanism going here. If you want to find out more, you can watch their little videos and follow them on Twitter. But for me, AI Tech is still sitting in a good zone. I've highlighted two great DCA zones here for AI Tech, and this thing has hardly sneezed considering how the market has fallen over in the last couple of weeks. This thing has just been floating around this big level. So there's two major areas that I'm watching on AI Tech. 0.1, that is support number one, DCA zone for this guy, and then a little bit lower down, if we lose that area, this is my most bullish zone, 0.06. If we lose that 0.1, 0.06 is where it's at for me on AI Tech. I'm trying to just highlight it here. My pen has disappeared again. But that is what we're wanting, 0.06. If it doesn't hold the current level, 0.1. Okay, AVAX. You guys saw I was in an AVAX trade as well. And again, just such a beautiful reaction here on AVAX. So this is a nice little example for the alt traders out there as to what we can be looking out for, what we can expect over the next week or two, and what we shouldn't write off. So I just want to remind you guys, this is AVAX on the weekly. In April, we had a massive dump on the market. You can see what happened here. And this candle was bought up incredibly quickly. Now, what tends to happen often after these type of situation is we get this bullish move, the candles get bought up really quickly, and then everybody becomes bearish again. Everyone realizes there's no more buyers, no one else is coming to pick this stuff up. And what inevitably happens is we come back and we retest at least a portion of that candle, or sometimes in some cases the entire candle, before we get our next push higher. So I just wanted to give you a little perspective here where AVAX is at the moment. So we've had our first test of a major weekly zone. I think it was obvious that the bulls were going to step in here after that type of dump. Now the real test for us on AVAX is, how deep is this going to go on the next retest? Okay, so I wouldn't write this off. I wouldn't write off another test of this 20 to 22 level for AVAX, as long as you are prepped for that. So if you are trading, if you are scalping, if you're doing all these types of things, just be prepared for any type of pullback here. It would be typical, and it would just be history rhyming. Again, a history not necessarily repeating, but often when we get a dump on major levels, they often come back and visit that candle as the minute you get complacent here and think that things are cooking again. So AVAX, I just want to warn you guys, 20 to 22, major support. Expect that potentially on downside on BTC. Take a look. AVAX might get revisited again. And if it doesn't, when do we turn bullish on AVAX? Well, we really need to start pushing higher and start banging through some major horizontals here. And there's a big zone here for me on AVAX at around about 30, 31. And I do have a chart prep for you guys on the lower time frame. So this is a 4-hour AVAX chart, just to give you guys a perspective as to what is going on here. So number one, if we do start revisiting those lows, that is going to be a visit to this group of candles. Now, we've had a nice V-shaped recovery here. This is a very good look, in my opinion, as to, we could be a little bit more bullish here. But key areas on the 4-hour that you want to be watching. Right now, we've got 25.3. You can see we're reacting on a typical 382 pullback. Okay, this is a very stock standard 382 pullback here on AVAX. Look at this beautiful ping here. Scalpers. I mean, this is scalper's dream here. And you get that little pullback, you buy in that little 382, you get your little position, and this thing starts going. Then a little bit lower down for me, AVAX 23, call it 24. Okay, so 24, this is your next potential big zone. So what could that look like? It could be something along these lines. That could be a relatively bullish play here for AVAX, and that would wipe out at least half of that candle that you were just looking at, that massive weekly candle here. So if we do get this pullback, look for this candle, look for a portion of this candle to get taken out. And you can see they did do this previously. Let's just zoom in here. Okay, so the last time we had this bounce, they pinged it higher. What did they come back? They most likely came back, pinged that 618, and then they sent that one up again. Okay, so look out for that on AVAX. Key levels for you shorter term, 25.3, 24. These are your scalper zones. These are your bullish zones here where we're expecting some kind of move higher than after that little retest. And then Solana trade as well. This is interesting. Okay, so Sol tested our lows at 120. We were looking at 118 to 120. But interestingly here now, Sol has reclaimed that 382 pull that I've just shown you on Bitcoin. I've just shown you on AVAX. I've just shown you on a couple of other tokens, 135. And it's also trying to reclaim the 200-day moving average. So 137 for me, down to 135.5. This is a big zone for Sol traders, for Sol bulls. You want to see this guy hold now. If you're sitting in a Sol position, 135 is where it's at. Okay, 135.5. Watch that big support here now, especially if you are scalping. And, most likely, if we start losing this region, your most reasonable next zone for Sol is going to be 130 to 128. So for me, if you are long Sol, as you can see, I'm short Sol. You know where my stop is. But if this thing is going to fall over for me, my next target, 130 to 128. That is your next bullish support here on Solana. Don't really want to go much lower than that. The bulls are going to be looking for that type of move there on any pullback now through this Asian session, say in the next, when's the Asian session, Dave? 6 hours, give or take. We should see some kind of move there from the Asians. Okay, and then here's a Sol long. Okay, so I was short Sol on Prime XBT. Here's my current Sol long. This is the Sol long from last week. This is on ZoomX at the moment. You can see I'm trading it off. This 382 is holding as support, but this was the Sol long that I jumped into earlier last week, and we have increased that size a little bit. So we're going to see how this Sol is going to play out. And again, you can also chart on this platform, ZoomX, and you can see we've got a little trend break here for Sol. And maybe things are going to get a little bit more spicy here. So if we get a nice trend break here, we're going to add to this guy and send this one, hopefully, a little bit higher. And then we're just going to bang out our stop. We're going to raise our stops, and we're going to bring our stop under 135. So you'll bring it under 135.5, which is that 382 that I showed you on this previous chart. So that is this guy over here. So you can bring your stop under 135.5, under that region. And you can see Sol breaking trend at the moment. Let's see if we get a nice little trend break here. We can add to this position. Maybe Sol then is going to start grinding a little bit higher for us. Let's see. One of them will get stopped out. One of them is a long. And let's see how we go on that guy. And then one more chart before I bring on both legends. Okay, are they waiting so patiently? Just hang out with me. Just hang out. Just hang out. Injective. There's so many chart questions here, and I'm trying to cover as many as possible for you guys. Injective on the weekly. Again, big support getting hold here. 18 is your number. Okay, it's this is it. This is your make or break number here for me. Injective, 18, massive weekly support here. Any bullish pullbacks from me, 18 holds for Injective, and this thing goes. BTC falls over, 14. That's your pain. That's where it's going. It's as simple as that. 2 weekly levels, and that's all you need to know about Injective. 18 and 14, upside, easy game, 24.4. Boys, the dream team. There's the dream team. Okay, Dave, talk to me about not. Talk to me about not.
Dave's in a hurricane, and I'm in a heat wave, so.
Hurricanes could be hitting here in the next day or two, but still charting and still trading. I actually was talking about it on Friday in the Sniper Club on the AMA where I caught the position, and it looks like we had that break a trend. Was paying attention to the retest of the 50-day MA, and looks like it's going to be another squeeze.
Can I bring out my not chart here? Talk us through this thing, because this thing is looking super bullish here. Here's this thing. There it is.
Yeah, looks exactly like mine.
40% move. I mean,
aggressive for sure. I've just been hawking on not for the past 3 weeks. Got smashed on it in the beginning trying to short it when it first started the rally, and then after that I've kind of been pretty spot on with some of the moves. But yeah, no, it's nice. I took 75% off the board yesterday, and yeah, I'm just wondering what's going on fundamentally. I know you and Hustle talked about it in the Sniper Club last week, and it's one of his top picks.
Hustle loves this token. Okay, this is what it was in. He gave us a list of a top 5. I think it was infrastructure or something along those lines. But he gave us this one. I think this was 3 or 4 on his list. Took us all by surprise. But yeah, I mean, you can see the market loves this thing at the moment, and I missed this trade. Thanks for WhatsApping me and telling me. Appreciate that. But next time, can you tell me? I mean, this thing moved 80%, bro. Okay, so 50-day MA at and a 382 pull. So this is your safest zone, 0.0137. Okay, that's your safest support band if you want to look for a not long. Okay, that is probably your zone number one. You're going to sniff around. A little bit lower, 0.012. That is probably your next most bullish zone here for not. But yeah, right now, if you're jumping in here, a little bit tricky. You know, I'm watching the 4 hour, so there's no setup here for me. It has to be lower down, in my view.
Yeah, I think maybe a wick into a little bit past the 50-day MA is a good opportunity. I'm expecting a potential sell-off into the Friday lows with BTC. We'll see. Definitely took advantage of the weekend pump here.
Yeah, well played. Bruce, what do you got? What's floating around?
Actually, Bitcoin. I've been watching to see when the market turns from rational, irrational, which is what that last. Hold on a second, let me bring it up.
Are you giving us a chart here? Are you giving us something to look at?
So like this thing was irrational, right? Just blew through levels. You know, it was all emotion. So what I look for is whether the market is going to regain being rational. And you mentioned the 𝗏𝗏, which is, you know, this thing here. You have support. It drops below support to gather liquidity, comes back up, retests it, and that begins to pump. Well, that defined the new low right over there for this particular range. And so what we got is it did it again. Right, it was the macro 618, right? And so we had it drop below that, lost all these levels, right? Pushed back up, rejected at the 200-day moving average, rejected at that 618 fib, is coming back. But now in this move, it took 3 steps to become bullish again. Step 1 was to break this trend line, which it did. Step 2 is to break the 200-day moving average and that 618 fib. So what it did, though, is it rejected to the 382 so far, which is perfect. This is rational. So if it pushes through here, we'd expect the next push up to be the long-term fib, old support level, small rejection, and then push through. So right now, this is rational. So I'm actually looking at Bitcoin long right there, right? And if it fails, we simply look at below at the 618 and pick it up there. Or it's going to come back and visit these lows again, which is, of course, always in the cards. But right now, this Solana and Link look exactly the same for setups. So what I'm reading right now is to confirm it by breaking that trend line right there and then give it a shot. It's a small 3-4% trade, but in this particular market, that's what I'm looking for.
Quick moves, quick in, quick out until we have certainty. You know, for me, strategy, when we break that 200-day MA on BTC, find some support there, we're turning more bullish. Until then, I think we're selling any pumps. We're taking profits where we can, or we're looking for shorts. And yeah, don't want to get married to positions here until we turn super bullish on BTC. Okay, gents, I'll see you in the Sniper Club in 20 minutes. We'll see you there. Thanks for hanging out. Okay, so you guys have got the deal. Okay, Sunday, we've teed you up. You know what we're looking at here on BTC. That's going to be the key. That's the king. That's the boss. Okay, that's going to dictate your altcoin fun or your altcoin pain. So it's as simple as that for BTC. Watch these levels we've given you now today. Watch those upside levels on any pumps. And the same with these altcoins. Again, I showed you how to map out now on a couple of alts, how to look for your big reaction zones. You're typically just looking for nice horizontals and a fib pool. That will give you your TP zone. That can give you your short entry potentially on some of them as well after a couple of pumps. So there's a lot to look forward to in the next couple of days, but that 200-day MA is huge. And let's see if we can crack that. Look out tonight now when these Asians come. Let's see if they come for us or they pump us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Banter Plus later.